I'm sure there's anti-Semitic people that are attacking you guys, but they're not me. They're not Anisa. It's not Hasan.
I should go to the old city so I can get my fucking shit pushed in by some of the most inbred fundamentalist hicks.
It's not all of these other creators that you're attacking.
Bro, they're literally making up stories to justify falsely calling CPS.
The house is just like covered in dog and he has kids, and his kids like crawl into the dog God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. They contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called Giardia from the dog that is all over his house.
So this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. It makes sense why he doesn't care about Palestinian children when he is neglecting his own. How is this happening? How is it happening? How is this happening?
Crimea river. Her chat like saying, oh, we're gonna call CPS, oh, someone should call CPS, is not even remotely like that. In fact, a CPS call is warranted.
Where they're calling CPS, Child Protective Services, to come to our house and break up our family.
You're not the biggest victim on the internet, Ethan.
Nah, apparently it's these guys.
Be mean to them. If they feel bad, if they feel harassed, honestly, great. I don't give a f***. Them. Each and every one of them. We need to be mean to these guys. We need to be assholes. They deserve it.
I love that Idubbbz is crying because him and his wife got called a cuck, but then he crazy makes Ethan for people role-playing killing his wife.
Wait, everyone! Ela Klein's in the house. Guys, she was just a secretary. Ela Klein.
Take those prisoners. Take those IDF genocidal soldiers. Where do they keep the secretaries? Secretary got...
Human skulls are getting mailed to their house.
Around the same time, we received 2 human skulls in the mail at our home, which led us to having a very pleasant interview with the FBI. Things have progressed well past the point of that's just what the internet does.
I'm done being nice to Ethan. I gave it a chance. My sincerity and my empathy in that last video was real.
Hasan's fans and orbiters are retweeting people saying, I'd love to swing their kid by the legs into an oak tree over and over again.
Maybe if Ethan's able to get some help, maybe if he stops harassing other creators, maybe if he does these things, eventually he'll find peace.
All of this is happening and somehow Ethan is labeled the harasser. How can you not see what's going on? They're doxing him and trying to take away his kids for mild political differences. That's why this video is sponsored by Aura. In a topic where people's personal information is being maliciously shared and posted online, it's an important reminder that people like you and me are just as vulnerable. Data brokers have websites where anyone could buy anyone else's personal information for just a few bucks. So it's important that you take the time to protect yourself. I do using Aura. Aura identifies brokers on your behalf and automatically submits opt-out requests that would otherwise be impossible to keep up with on your own. Seriously, just Google your name. You will see your address, phone numbers, family members popping up on all of these white pages websites. But if you give Aura just a bit of your personal information, after a few weeks, all of that will start to be taken down. You'll get less spam emails, less spam calls on your phone. It is genuinely life-changing. And Aura will continuously monitor the dark web and alert you if your personal information was exposed. You won't leave the back door to your house open at night, so why do it online? Plus, they give you up to $5 million of identity theft insurance should the worst case scenario happen. So stop the spam calls and protect yourself online by going to aura.com/WillyMac to start your 14-day free trial. Thank you, Aura, for sponsoring this video.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
This drama stems from Ethan and Hasan's disagreements on Israel-Palestine. Now, you might think Ethan must be super far right or something. No, they agree on 95% of things.
Do you believe that Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is a disagreement that you and I have.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. If you want to add that, like the genesis of Zionism included, you know, the displacement and you know, the ravaging of the culture that existed there, then I would agree with you.
He even cried for Palestinians getting killed, relating to being a new dad.
As a father, it's even hard to talk about. This dude was holding his infant. It was like a year old. He was like patting her on the back and saying like his final goodbye. I mean, didn't expect to get emotional about that, but like, I'm a new dad and that shit really fucks me up.
Yeah, this wasn't good enough because Anisa is 50% Irish and 50% Lebanese and grew up in Canada, so she can tap into empathy that Ethan can't comprehend.
I'll say it for anyone who doesn't know. Anisa is half Lebanese and half Irish. For anyone unfamiliar, the Irish have been on the receiving end of a lot of oppression and genocide. On the part of the Lebanese, they've received a lot of oppression and attacks from the IDF. So Anisa is very well familiar with the propaganda and the shit coming out of Israel.
Terrible as the Holocaust was, obviously it was horrendous, and how disgusting the doctor was that did the experiments did it on Jewish people. They found a couple of really groundbreaking discoveries through that experimentation.
Yeah, she prefers that Nazi propaganda. I am also half Irish, so that makes me an authority on all things in the Middle East, unlike Hasan, who is 0% Irish. Ian does this appeal to authority to make Ethan seem like an idiot, but the authority he's appealing to is Hasan.
I would say that Hasan was very well equipped to talk about that topic. He's just got done capturing a massive progressive audience who are very politically savvy. They follow Hasan. Hasan is strictly a political streamer, so this is something they're very keyed into.
I have dozens of videos documenting how this dude will blatantly lie and make up conspiracies when covering topics or arguing with people. But we don't even have to reference those videos because another day has passed, and that means Hasan has told a whole new set of lies. So I just want to give you a sample of just how dishonest this guy is. Ethan talks about Jewish heritage in the Middle East. Hasan then ignores that and argues against something Ethan didn't even say.
Hasan attempts to deny Jewish heritage in the Middle East. It characterizes them not as indigenous, but as white colonizers. This is
the Israeli heritage in the Middle East is now tarnished by, well, first of all, Israeli heritage in the Middle East. What the f is Israeli heritage in the Middle East? That doesn't exist. Shut the f up.
He didn't say Israeli heritage. He said Jewish heritage.
Talking about a 76-year process, okay? You can't really call that heritage in the Middle East, okay? But as far as Jewish heritage in the Middle East, that's valid. You can talk about individually Arab Jews and whatnot, but that's not what you're talking about. You're playing fast and loose, making this dangerous conflation between Judaism and Zionism once again, over and over and over and over again.
You're the one doing that.
Hasan is denying Israeli heritage in the Middle East. The Israeli heritage in the Middle East, you know what that is? Death and destruction, genocide and apartheid. That's the only thing that Israeli heritage is in the Middle East. If you're talking about Jewish heritage in the Middle East, that's a little different, of course.
That's literally what he's talking about. Ethan won the argument without even being there. Hasan's chat finally corrects him for fundamentally misunderstanding Ethan's point, but it doesn't stop him from declaring victory in this imaginary conversation.
Oh, he didn't say Israeli heritage in the Middle East. He said Jewish heritage in the Middle East. My bad. Well, let me tell you, Jewish heritage in the Middle East is not Israeli heritage, okay? So you can't talk about Israel while talking about Jewish heritage in the Middle East. So my point still stands.
His ego is out of control. Hasan makes up in the debate with Ethan that Iraq gave a right to return for Jewish Arabs after they were kicked out.
The Iraqi Jews can go back to their home tomorrow. The Egyptian Jews can go back to their homes tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That is insane. You are fucking out of your mind.
Yes, they can.
Okay,
they
how? Tell me how.
Can.
How do the Jews go back to their...
They don't want to, and I understand why they wouldn't want to, because America
they want to.
And destroyed Iraq.
Why
but
would
yes, they could.
Loaderbox immediately pointed out that Iraq return law specifically excludes Jews. He can't even tell the truth about the pop he's drinking.
Hold on, what are you drinking?
It's a Dr. Pepper cream
Isn't that...
soda.
Who owns that?
I don't know, but it's not on the BDS,
Are you
national
sure?
BDS list.
We'll double check.
Yes, I'm 100% sure.
Hasan is so incompetent, he came into a single Google search that shows that the owner of Dr. Pepper is a staunch Zionist. The point of this isn't that Israel is in the right or all Palestinians are bad. It's to show that he will confidently lie if it makes him look better in the moment. He didn't know about any of these things, yet he lies to try and act like he's in the right on all of them. It's effortless for him. And it's because he doesn't care about the truth. All he does is anti-West propaganda. It's his brand.
Just like I do propaganda.
I'm a propagandist. Well, no, for the record.
And when you call him out on it, he doesn't correct the record. No, he molds and hides behind the dead bodies of Palestinians to avoid accountability.
I will never forget these monstrous pieces of for looking at a situation like the one happening, the one unfolding in Gaza, and choosing to never say anything about it, only to then make these drama videos to call out the people who call out the Israeli government. It is disgusting.
Nobody cares that you criticize Israel. It's that you're making stuff up. He will then slander people for calling him out, repeating that Loaderbox and Destiny were paid by Israel to go to the West Bank. The account that made the claim admits to making it up. Doesn't matter to Hasan, still reports the lie.
Also, I went on a paid trip to Israel, and that's not weird. It's not weird that I went on a paid trip to Israel.
These guys spent their own money to do on-the-ground journalism in the West Bank, recorded and covered how the IDF burnt down fruit markets of civilians, interviewed tons of people. Well, they're Israeli operatives because they don't agree with every single thing that Hasan says. Hasan goes on vacation to France, Japan, Australia, all over the course of the war, and then reads Twitter for his research. Yet he claims he's doing the important journalism.
But if it's between me going live and giving you 10 hours of on-the-ground, 10 hours of reporting from the ground, at a critical moment, at a critical time, versus not going live that day just so I can go on Piers Morgan and fucking yell at him, I think it's selfish of me to take the Piers Morgan route.
On the ground, dude's either in his hotel suite or the third floor of his LA mansion. When told that he should go to Israel, Hasan says he can't because it would be too dangerous.
That's your argument? You got it? You can enter Israel? What's more to say? Brother, I am not going to Nazi Germany, okay? I hope you understand this. Brother, I'm not going to Israel so you can execute me, okay? Stop demanding that I go to Israel. Stop demanding that I go to Nazi Germany.
He was invited to do actual journalism in Gaza, but wouldn't because they couldn't guarantee his safety.
The thinking about going to Gaza thing is also kind of stupid because I was invited by literal journalists that work in Gaza, okay? And I unfortunately most likely will not be able to go because the people that I did talk to said that they could not give me security assurances that Israel would not kill me or anyone really.
How does he think on-the-ground journalism works? There's a danger to it. That's why it's called on the ground. Brandon Buckingham went to Lebanon when Israel was bombing them. Places he was at were bombed the next day. By the time he finished the video, some of the people he was with were now dead. But you know, Hasan, the real journalist, thinks reading Twitter is reporting from the ground. Idubbbz analysis.
I would say that Hasan was very well equipped to talk about that topic. They follow Hasan. Hasan is strictly a political streamer. So this is something they're very keyed into.
The only way you would think this is if you're a Hasan fan.
I'm more extreme than Ian, where I'm like pretty anti-capitalist. I hate landlords. I hate the system that we're in.
My understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers in a video game. Sorry. Holy shit. Murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
Whoa, Ian's about to get cucked live.
Is there anything you want to promote while you're here? I don't know.
Creator Clash 2. Give us money for charity next year.
All right, Creator Clash 2, guys.
They raised $0 from Creator Clash 2. Even when Ian describes Hasan's America deserved 9/11 moment, he makes it sound so much more nuanced and sophisticated than it actually was. An anger-induced crash out.
America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
That is someone who is extremely frustrated and passionate about a particular topic. In this case, American imperialism and terrorism. You could have looked into that. You could have talked to Hasan a little bit more and found out what his international politics opinions are. But you wouldn't even need to do that. You can look at it online.
If you look at it online, Hasan crashed out because Dan Crenshaw mentioned that military bases are an important part of national and global security.
You're not the only one that's told me this, and particularly not the only one that's told me this that has a military background, saying it's virtually impossible to prevent any of this stuff without having bases over there.
That's 100% right. Yeah, I mean, and you need that relationship with the host nation, of course, that you want to partner with, and that's generally what we do, especially in the special operations community.
Hasan's academic response was to say that Dan deserved to be raped by soldiers.
What the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with this dude? Didn't he go to war and like literally lose his eye because some mujahideen, a brave soldier, f***ed his eye hole with their dick? Isn't that how he lost his dumbass eye? Because he got his eye hole by a brave soldier? America deserved 9/11, dude. We totally brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy shit.
And what's funny is if Hasan just played 20 more seconds of the video, Dan would have acknowledged Hasan's frustrations.
Again, I think it is reactionary to just assume that we have bad intentions all the time and that everything is America's fault. I hear that constantly, mostly coming from the left, but that isolationist sentiment certainly comes from the right as well. And it's a reaction. It's a reaction to the Iraq War and some of the mistakes we made there. These matters are complex, and they deserve complex reasoning and analysis and a little nuanced understanding. And I just think that's how we should look at it. We don't say that we're always right. That's That's not what I'm saying.
When confronted by his uncle on the Young Turks, Hasan backpedals, blaming it on English being his second language.
But you understand now, and not just now, but you understood fairly soon after you said it, that saying Americans deserve 9/11 is a completely different statement and one that's wrong.
No, I didn't say Americans deserve 9/11. I said America deserves 9/11.
Right, but that's
and
still
in that
wrong.
Moment, well, maybe you could chalk it up to English being my second language or whatever you want to chalk it up to.
This wasn't a thoughtful commentary. It's him having an emotional outburst instead of engaging with why Dan is wrong. Maybe he is. I don't know. And then avoiding accountability when he gets criticized. He does this with everybody when the conversation gets slightly complex. I would love to chalk all this up to Ian just not knowing what he's talking about, but it's much more malicious than that. Ian is leaving out context on purpose.
He's just got done capturing a massive progressive audience who are very politically savvy. They follow Hasan.
Ethan.
The word of the day is empathy.
I think only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy. And I'm very ashamed to admit that. It sounds really pathetic to say at the age of 32, I've acquired empathy.
It is. Idubbbz understanding the word empathy confuses me a bit. You see, when Ethan told a story about how CPS was falsely called because he talked about his kids getting sick, I felt bad for Ethan. Ian felt bad for the accusers.
I just can't help myself but feel for other people's pain and suffering now.
Not once in the initial Content Cop video did Ian mention that CPS was falsely called on Ethan and Hila. It makes the entire video horribly dishonest because it is the catalyst for this entire drama. If you watch the Content Cop, you would think that Ethan was dragging Idubbbz into a drama that he started for no reason.
And it's all culminated, at least for my story, in Ethan burning bridges with people until he burned the bridge with me. Since Ethan and Hasan's falling out, I've been keeping to myself mostly. I don't have many nice things to say. Maybe if Ethan's able to get some help, maybe if he stops harassing other creators, maybe if he does these things, eventually he'll find peace and we can rekindle our friendship.
These other creators are Frogan, who's Hasan's mod, and repeatedly would write that Ethan hates Arab for not supporting the October 7th terrorist attacks. On October 7th, she would write, leftists preach and foam at the mouth at the thought of revolution happening in America. But as soon as it happens in the Middle East, what they're doing is wrong. Ethan is apparently a racist for not supporting or calling for terrorist attacks. What else do you call this? Denims would argue that Israelis who do mandatory service should get Nuremberg trial, which was the execution of the 21 worst Nazis in World War II. Ethan's wife did mandatory service as a secretary, yet Hila is apparently the worst of the worst according to Denims.
Personally not a fan of I had to do what I was forced to do. And I feel like you start getting really close to Nuremberg trial type shit there.
She'd hype up the guy who advocated for and jokingly takes credit for calling CPS.
Lets his dogs shit all over his mansion, and he just leaves the shit on the floor, something that is probably related to the fact that his former housekeeper is suing him for a number of different reasons. So I would assume he doesn't actually have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids crawl into the dog shit, and God forbid, I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they eat it, or if it's just from contact with it with their hands or something, but they contracted a parasite that I had previously never heard of in my life called Giardia from the dog shit that is all over his house.
Dude, how is it that maybe once a week I look into what Ethan Klein's been up to, and every time I manage to find more and more terrible shit. Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses, it's very, very, very dangerous when infants get the same sicknesses that adults get. There are lots of things that you can get as an adult. You're totally fine. You'll be A-okay. No problem. A child, a small infant that has no immune system, shouldn't be catching anything.
This chat is an edit compiling the worst messages from Denims' chat, but they are real. You can see the same messages in the top right, which is her live chat. So the guy who made the video is advocating CPS take his kids away. Denims is talking about how careless and shocking it is of Ethan to put his kids in so much danger, as her chat is also echoing that his kids should be taken away. On top of wanting Hila, the mother of his children, executed, which bad empanada role plays.
Secretary got.
Meanwhile, Ian's saying, look how unhinged and crazy Ethan's acting. He even went after Matt Lieb.
He's finding new people every day, basically, to get in fights with.
Of all people, this guy, Matt Lieb.
Matt Lieb is in this middle tier. His valuable association is Rhett and Link. So Rhett and Link, conveniently, are also in this category of popular and powerful men who Ethan does not want to burn bridges with. I think Ethan only respects power right now, which is one of the reasons I made this video in the first place.
The important context, Ian, is that Matt Lieb is constantly platforming Bad Empanada as a good guy.
We both have bad in our, YouTube names, and yet we are both good. What do you make of that?
Am I good? I don't know.
I think you're good.
Matt Lieb has also tweeted out, "We gotta save them kids," referring to people trying to get CPS to take away Ethan's children. Ethan and Healer are simply asking Ian to tweet out that this is crazy, something I and many other creators who have never spoken to the H3 crew did easily. If the same thing happened to Hasan, I would come to his defense, because it's not online banter or disagreements at that point, it's real life harassment. When CPS showed up to Ethan's house, Denims seemingly justifies it, saying kids can't form memories at 5, so who cares?
I think it's embarrassing for Hila here to be like, this is so traumatic for the kids. You're trying to traumatize the children. It's like, dog, you literally, the vast majority of people are are not remembering anything that happened to them at 3. It's just sympathy, right? It's just, she's just pulling like the IDF classic card of like, please, my life is so difficult. Please, everyone that is against us needs awful experiences because we're the ones dealing with the real awful experiences.
You're trying to take her kids away. That seems reasonable to complain about as a mother.
I was like, I really don't want you to create any bad memory here for them. Like, they are 5 and 3. They don't understand this shit. So I told him,
create any bad memory for them. You're not forming memories at 3 years old, and it's very rare that you're forming memories at 5 years old. Now, yes, you are. No, you're not. When we're talking about being able to remember, being able to recall memories, it's like 4 is the cutoff. But even if you are forming any memories at 4, you're not going to be able to remember them past like 15. You have maybe 1 or 2 memories.
She then reads the exact opposite on stream when she looks it up, but then chooses to repeat that she was right.
There's a wide variation about the mean across methods, cohorts. The average age of adults' earliest memories is 3.5 years old. You're not really forming memories at 3.
You literally just read out of your mouth that the average adult starts forming memories at 3. What is happening?
All of these people want to take your kids away because you don't co-sign everything they say. If you don't fall in line with your language, they will try to ruin you. Denims would go on to say that she doesn't condone people calling CPS, but she justified it. Even as she speaks, her chat is calling for CPS.
We're talking about CPS. 1, I don't condone. 2, I've never condoned it, and you will not be able to find a clip of me saying, yes, we should do this, because it doesn't exist. I've literally given Ethan Klein credit on multiple times or multiple instances, and I will do it again right now, for not showing photos of his kids.
I'm sure there's anti-Semitic people that are attacking you guys, but they're not me.
It's her. After seeing all of this, because Ian does know about it, he says Denims is his friend, but Ethan is a halfway friend for wanting him to speak up.
Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We are friends with Denim. We think that she's a good person like we think Ethan and Hila are good people. Kind of a tricky situation. How can you possibly think that they're both good people at their core?
It's not tricky at all. She's acting like a demon.
People can have crash out moments. People can say things that they don't mean. People can say things because they want internet clout and attention. I don't know. I think they're both probably guilty of saying things that they don't mean for internet clout and attention. Right now, one's a little bit more fucking nasty to me than the other.
You've lost your mind.
I'm still not perfect. I think that is, my empathy meter's only maybe like a quarter of the way filled up, potentially. But it's at least there. And I just want you guys to know that you can unlock ability empathy.
This is the empathy you've learned, empathizing with the people who want to take away his kids and kill his wife. But to Ian, both of these people are crashing out equally.
I actually have a lot of friendships that are kind of that way, where it's like, one of the friends doesn't fuck with the other friend, but there is someone in the middle who kind of fucks with both of them, but separately. Yeah, there's a lot of friendships that are like that. I'm not gonna make you guys like meet up and kiss or anything.
This isn't just some petty beef where they just can't get along. If your friend is screwing up, you should be able to tell them. But Ian knows that. He just thinks Ethan's the one screwing up. It's genuinely evil that Ian doesn't disclose the extent of the harassment in this video. His audience has no idea because he omits it. Even in his follow-up content deputy, the extent of the harassment is never disclosed. Instead, he tries to find examples of Ethan being dishonest, and they're just wrong.
Ethan Klein uses this very deceptively edited video that is just like doing this smooth scroll to make it seem like that's all of Denims' chat. But that's not what it is. And then when he's called out on it, he hides it. He moves his window over the real chat.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children.
Dude, it is Denims' chat. It's just a compilation of the messages. If Idubbbz just watches the original clip that Ethan is commenting on, you can find the same messages in the chat. The show is called Content Cop, but there is no investigation. Ian then just goes full mask off and says the CPS call was wholly justified.
To be honest, I'm very proud that I didn't immediately jump to Ethan and Neela's defense, because when you look into the story, it actually looks a lot shittier for Ethan and Neela. And I do mean that literally. There was this H3 stream where Ethan was dumping as per usual. He was talking about his own health. He was talking about his caca breath, his dog having diarrhea, his dog having giardia.
Olive has giardia. It's a bacterial infection in the intestines that makes you have diarrhea.
His child running around putting things in their mouth.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
The whole family possibly having giardia.
Oh,
and now Ela has giardia.
Shut. For real?
And now I think this morning I had diarrhea.
Oh my God.
Mentioned diarrhea a lot.
Crazy diarrheas like in the middle of the night. All the time he's having these crazy diarrheas. You wash your hands as best you can, but these are really nasty diarrheas.
I guess this is all you need to justify calling CPS, according to Ian.
So of course, Ethan, having made so many enemies over the years, other people react to his content. And when other people see that he's talking about his children getting giardia from dog poop, people are quite reasonably concerned. And so, yes, anyone who's seeing that content might be concerned enough to call CPS, including Ethan's own chat, which, by the way, is not a measly number. It's about 26,000 at the time of this stream.
What's more likely, Ethan's chat laughing and goofing around, or Denims' chat saying call CPS and then CPS shows up 3 days later? It's obviously Denims. He's being dishonest. Ian also says that it's completely reasonable to call CPS over kids getting giardia. It's not. You do one Google search, talk to any doctor, you'll find out that it's extremely common among children. The idea that parents can't tell a story about how their kids got sick without having to worry about a CPS call is frankly insane. Ethan's kid didn't even end up having giardia, not that that matters. It's wild that Ian puts the blame on Ethan.
Why does it have to be anyone else's fault but your own? Take some fucking responsibility.
For what? Do you think he called CPS on himself? Is it his fault people want to murder his wife too? Yes, according to Ian.
They just implied that we are okay with people using CPS as harassment.
You literally just said you were okay with it.
And when other people see that he's talking about his children getting giardia from dog poop, people are quite reasonably concerned.
Is Ian okay? Did a lizard person kill him and start wearing his skin? Brother, put back on your glasses and uncross your eyes because you're not seeing straight. This guy got called a simp and a cuck, realized that people being mean to you on the internet wasn't fun, and then deleted all of his content cop videos because he found empathy. But this is the most soulless and cruel video he has ever uploaded. Even at the end of the video when he says he's crying for Ethan, he's really crying for himself.
You know, I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Neela. Like, it's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense, if that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
Okay, so now imagine it's not just him and his wife. It's his entire family, his employees, his pets. Use that empathy, buddy. I want to wrap up this segment on empathy by talking about some racist dog whistles. And I don't mean it in the same way Hasan means it, where he calls everything racist. Someone says they don't like using a bidet while vacationing in Japan. Racist.
Kind of fun in the beginning, and now it's just getting really, really annoying. I just kind of want to wipe my butt like a normal person. And
Wait, what? Why is he making it seem like you have to wash your ass? Bro, here's how you want to know something about white supremacy? You want to know something about white supremacy? You can go anywhere on the planet. If you're white and you criticize something, no one thinks you're a fucking barbaric caveman. But because he's fucking white and he's in a non-white country, people still don't understand that that is literally a barbarian going, grug, That is internalized white supremacy inside of all of us, where because the Western world, the Western ethnocentric, Anglo-Saxon domination is so fucking pervasive that we look at that and our immediate reaction isn't like, oh, he's a barbarian.
Yo, this guy's retarded. Someone calls him stupid, racist dog whistle.
Hasan didn't mean to insult me. He simply reached the narrow limits of his understanding of the world. Dude, I can't do this. The narrow limits. Yeah, dude, just say I'm a Turk roach with a cockroach brain and move on, okay? Yeah, it. I'm saying it, dude, okay? This motherfucker not exactly out of the alt-right pipeline, okay? Straight up, dude.
But Ian having the choice between 10 different swords in Hasan's house and landing on the swastika one, not a dog whistle.
God forbid you pick up a sword in here, okay?
I was thinking about doing some sort of ritual in
no
here.
No more swords, okay?
I'm the one who thoughtlessly picked up the sword. We were grabbing a lot of props in Hasan's room, and there are a lot of props.
There's a lot of anti-Semitic props, and he just chose that anti-Semitic one as opposed to the other anti-Semitic ones.
There's only one prop in Hasan's house that has a swastika, and you just so happen to pick up that one. Now, I know this sword was from an anime, and people, including Ethan, were willing to give everybody the benefit of the doubt on this.
I don't want to talk about Hasan's sword. I don't want to talk about Hasan's sword hilt, because Ethan himself basically admitted already multiple times he doesn't think any of us did that intentionally. And he would be right.
Do I think any of them actually like wanted to put a swastika in the photo? No, no. I don't actually think that.
But what Ian purposely omits is later in that same podcast, Ethan discovers that Hasan knew nothing about the anime and refers to that sword as the swastika sword.
This one's sicker. Wait, that's a little sus. That's questionable. Yeah. Immediately goes for the swastika one. Got it.
It doesn't seem like a coincidence, but it gets better. A point of contention between Ethan and Hasan is that Hasan calls Jewish people inbred. Sometimes he specifies he only means settlers. Other times it seems like he's just throwing it out there.
I should go to the old city so I can get my fucking shit pushed in by some of the most inbred fundamentalist hicks.
When Hasan is debating Ethan and they're talking about this, what does Anisa tweet out? Inbred. It's very intentional. It's meant to make Ethan feel paranoid about anti-Semitism being normalized online. It clearly is among all of these people.
This looks like a swastika.
Yeah, totally. Or do you think that now that it's been pointed out that he should remove the photo at least? Take it down?
No. Why would he take it down? That'd be crazy.
It's always policing content, okay?
Yeah. Policing content.
Where else have I heard that phrase?
Didn't you participate in a series called Content Cop?
I was just thinking
You want to talk to me about policing content? You f***ing dipshit, dude.
So what did we learn about empathy? Empathy is when you sympathize with people who falsely try to break up families because they hear someone got sick. Siding with people making death threats and preying on people's seemingly real fears of anti-Semitism being normalized. Empathy is when you don't honestly represent the other person's arguments and you just lie by omission to all of your viewers. For as much as Ian claims to have grown as a person, he has never lied like this before. The content cop Ian regrets most is on Tana Mojo, and after Ian apologized to her, she says she didn't deserve it.
But I'm more so just talking about like his actions to me, like, you know, him showing up to my show, him kind of putting me on blast, him inevitably making me kind of canceled and lose subscribers and have to apologize and all that type of stuff. I kind of think I'd like deserved that. And maybe that's like dark, like to say, but like I don't feel like I'm owed an apology. I think I would be a completely different person if I didn't have that. I think it like I was on track to just be so on my high horse and like egotistical and like nothing could go wrong, that something going wrong gave me such a dose of reality that like this might not last forever. Like, yeah, you need to be held accountable for actions.
This is real growth. This is maturity. What you are is a small person who doesn't have confidence in making their content anymore, so you cling on to these vampires while projecting your own insecurities onto Ethan.
It's so hard for me on my podcast to like loosen up. It's incredibly hard. I talked about it in my apology. Like, I am so insecure about my ability to entertain. I think he feels the same, to be honest. I don't think he said as much.
Dude, this is classic projection. Ian cannot fucking manage to come up with a joke now, so he thinks that Ethan is too insecure to make jokes anymore. This is projection, like 101 over here. What are you talking about?
Come on, dude. You're one step away from calling me a cuck. Just take the plunge.
You're a cuck. But even worse, you're mentally cucked. You're sitting on Hasan's stream in the cuck chair as he all over drama streamers, slowly realizing that you fit the description.
That's part of the reason why I often don't fight back against a lot of these people that are fueling these hate raids and brigades is because I know I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
That's misreporting the news and lying.
And eventually all of that is going to be background noise. And those people, they have a shelf life. They have a shelf life because they don't have the same fucking stubborn nature that I do. They don't have the same interests as I do. They inevitably become their own worst enemies. They inevitably cook themselves. You might think you're riding high on the slop for a little bit. You might think you're getting showered with praise. An army of anonymous Redditors telling you you're brilliant. But at the end of the night, when you go home and you sit down and you look yourself in the mirror, you're not going to recognize who you've become. That's it. It's turning into a lolcow of a different variety. That's what I think.
That's so mean.
It's mean because it's you. Ian's empathy tour ends with him blindsiding all of his fighters after tainting it with this drama. According to Harley, the main event fighter for Creator Clash 1, 2, and 3, H3's audience was a big percentage of the ticket sales and promotion for the event.
H3 sold the most tickets to Creator Clash 1 and 2, I believe. I think they did a lot of ticket
Wait. Is that true?
I would think that, wouldn't you? Like, what else? What other entity promoted
Well,
Creator
I
Clash?
think that personally, but I'm not the current headliner for the third card, so they want to hear it from you, not me.
The H3 podcast promoted Creator Clash 1 and 2 more than anyone. So of course Ian makes a video on Ethan alienating that whole audience, but also making the war in the Middle East a fundamental talking point of the event.
I don't know about the other fighters, but just for me, like, I'm just kind of like, oh, cool, the fun little charity fundraiser has now been attached to a decades-long bloody holy war in the Middle East. It's whatever. Cool. You know, it's not really like the fun sentiment I had. They did a temperature check on my team. They called my team, and they were like, how do you guys doing? How do you feel about everything? And, you know, they spoke to my guy, and he was like, not that good. Not that cool of a thing. And then they hit me up, and I was like, well, how does everyone else feel about it? And they were like, everyone loves it. Everyone's fine. Everyone's great. Your team's a little wonky about it, but everyone's good.
Oh God.
And I was like, well, I guess, yeah. I mean, I think I'm the only Jewish person on the card. And I know it's not like the content cop I know was supposed to be about like Ethan's behavior.
Yeah, then it turned into Content Cop Israel.
Yeah.
And the content deputy, Idubbbz and Anisa would claim that they are no longer affiliated with Creator Clash and that they inform the fighters.
Anisa and I have decided to step away from Creator Clash. We have relinquished control to our business partners who ran the previous 2 events. They're very capable. They know exactly what they're doing. They run events on a regular basis. The event is still happening. Anisa and I just don't have any financial ties. We don't have any ownership. We've already told all the fighters, and it seems like most people understand that this is the best move.
From everything I've seen, it seems like the fighters don't really know what's going on. But don't worry, Hasan is going to give the reason for why the headliner of the event dropped out. And by that I mean make it up on the spot.
Him and Anisa basically relinquished control over Creator Clash 3, a boxing charity match that they had put together 3rd year in a row after Ethan got Lena to drop out, and also another fighter, Harley, also dropped out because he was upset and offended that Ian and Idubbbz had dared to criticize Ethan.
Harley writes he's lying or someone lied to him. That's not why I backed out of the event. We just saw Harley tell Nick that he was all for the content cop being made on Ethan as long as it was about his content. You know what Harley didn't seem to like though? The dog whistle that was the swastika sword.
They're your swords, and according to the New York Times article, there was 10 options. So what's the chances that they chose the swastika one? That seems pretty slim.
Well,
you have 10 swords, don't you?
The week prior to that, I believe. I don't know the exact timeline. I don't really remember when they shot this, but I had the sword out because I was doing an Assassin's Creed promo. Do you feel like if I thought it was like genuinely a swastika sword, I would use it in an Assassin's Creed promo shot?
Yes. That's what we call a dog whistle, Hasan.
I'm just looking for clarification here. Do you think that I deliberately was using a dog whistle in an Assassin's Creed promo, or that it was a cool sword that was laying around because it's the only long sword that I have?
You have 10 swords.
I know, they're heavy. That's not a real sword.
Guys, the other swords were too heavy, as if a sword isn't meant to be held. What's very odd to me is how proud Ian and Anisa were for taking their own event and making fighters drop out, and then dropping out themselves when things got hard, screwing everybody who's still involved. They're seemingly very proud of it. Anisa tweeted, "Hey BB girl, I know you're so desperate for any crumbs from me, so here's a big piece of f you. We are not financially tied to this event, and even if we were, we had it situated to protect us and the charity. You have no power over us. You're just an asshole." The remaining business partners have seemingly tried to get Harley back on the card.
Kind of was very easy for me to separate. And then when, it was like Ian and Anisa are stepping down, you want to come back? I was like, that was never a problem for me.
Wow. Wait a minute. So wait, they dropped down and then they tried to bring you back to the table?
What do you know? You didn't know that?
When the event fails, and it seems like it's going to, Ian has already planted the seeds to blame Ethan.
Can't wait for them to blame us for their failed event. Don't worry, Hila. I'm not going to blame you guys for anything Creator Clash related. I know you're terrified of taking accountability for anything, so that will rest solely on my shoulders.
It actually does, though. Why is he being sarcastic?
But I can't speak for the internet. The internet might actually blame you guys for it.
How stupid does he think we are? His own fighters aren't fooled by this.
Ian and Ethan are now doing this YouTube battle against each other, going through this drama war. Creator Clash is receiving a lot of collateral damage.
See, it's so funny. Everyone's saying like, "Oh, I hate H3." How H3 actually got Creator Clash to get some negative air. They see, this is the thing. Idubbbz made a video about them.
Yeah,
he, the founder of Creator Clash, made a video about these other people who are creating drama. They, so I'm saying, like, this is like this thing
and
where
it's like, I'm not gonna tell Ian what to do. It's not my place to be like, Ian, maybe you shouldn't like do that, because the rest of us might kind of catch some strays from it.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, it's like, it feels like Ian and I we're friends walking down a sidewalk, and he gets stung by a wasp, and he's like, oh, and he looks up and there's a wasp nest there. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a wasp nest. And he pulls out a bat, and he runs up and hits that wasp nest and comes back. He's like, I showed that wasp nest. And I'm like, uh-oh. And all the wasps come flying out, and they start stinging us, both of us. Mostly him, because he was but I'm like I'm getting stung. I'm like, what the heck? I didn't come on this walk to get stung by wasps. Why'd you go hit the wasp nest?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, the only thing to do here to protect you is to run away. And so he runs away, and now I'm like, okay, I guess they're following him, but I'm still kind of getting stung here. Not really what I signed up for.
The content cops have this patronizing language of take accountability and be an adult, yet Ian's the one who needs to grow up. You're dressed like a skinhead, missing a tooth, and hanging out with the most deplorable and dishonest people online. Just in my last video, Denims was lying about being a victim of Destiny to try and get some free clout. When all the recording showed was her admitting to staying in Destiny's apartment and having sex with a dude for 2 days without Destiny's permission or knowledge.
I don't know how you feel 100%, because you don't talk about any of this stuff, which is fine. So like, if you're like in an awkward situation, right? I'm trying to be a good guy and give you a way out, like, hey, well, my apartment is open if you want to go in. So that gives you the ability to either say like, oh no, it's okay, I'll go with, or okay, thanks for offering, I'll go to your apartment. That wasn't like bring into my apartment for him to have free reign in here for a day. Holy shit. That is so weird. Why would you put me in this weird spot where I have to come home and see an incredibly creepy guy that is such a weird position in my community, that's been trying to get me to stop talking to my ex-girlfriend because he's trying so hard to her, is now somebody else in my bed, dragging his hairy balls across my blankets, okay? Oh my god. And so we leave for an hour. He's like, holy shit. That's weird. So we leave for an hour and come back, and you're both still there. Oh god!
Now I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We are friends with Denims.
You're friends with someone who's trying to throw themselves in as a revenge porn victim for clout, and I don't even want to get into Frogan.
The best thing that you can do for me is to support Creator Clash. Buy a ticket, buy a pay-per-view ticket, an in-person ticket, or donate to the fundraiser. I just want to see this event do well.
The arena is still completely empty. There's entire sections of the floor seats that haven't sold anything. He had 9 million views in promotion for this event and it's failed horribly. None of these comments are actually talking about it. They aren't even talking about the content of the video. Everyone's just memeing. Idubbbz leaves out so much context. The complaints he has about Ethan aren't even significant to the audience. It's amazing. Idubbbz is so selfish he couldn't even remain the sole cuck. He decided to cuck his whole charity event. He's like, nah, I'm not participating. I prefer to just watch the whole fest burn down.
And in closing, I will reiterate so that, there's no ambiguity about it. Anisa and I are no longer involved in Creator Clash. We're stepping down completely. We hope that the event is a massive success this year. We hope that all of the fighters get what they wanted out of it.
They won't now. Moral of the story, you can cuck yourself. You might even be able to cuck your wife. But if you cuck a charity event full of people who've been preparing for it over the last year, just a couple of months before it goes live, you can call that empathy. But I might call you an asshole. I have a lot more to say about Hasan, Frogan, and Anisa, and the serial docs are known as Bad Empanada. Hasan's lying, acting like he's on the verge of being deported because he's a liberal, when in reality it was a standard randomized check that lasted like 50 minutes. We can't let him get away with that. So subscribe to the channel, and thank you Aura for sponsoring this video. And shout out to the homies over on Patreon: Crimson Glass, Riveter, Christina Vina, Mac Monkey, Drink Kobex, Necro Valley, The Confusing Opinion, Eddie Bizzle, Tismic Fitz, Christopher H, Sennial Music, Lucas If, ET Automatic, Snoopy Poop Tube 2, Amur ML Bay, Rooney Boo, Drew is Sharing, Clown Factory, Monkey D Luffy, Shura, Mustard Shirt Guy, and the mega homies IGP, Your Taxi, Cyber Katie, Lore Reloaded, Papa Gut, Kaden Lulin, BA Subway, Hawk and Load, Kitty Cat, Terox, Fayunder, John Manfreda, Trick, Lucas, and Katie Hawk.